afternoon, everyone. It's Eric from the Hopper House. Hopefully, everyone's doing great on this Friday afternoon. So, just some daily announcements that we got going on. Just a quick reminder of some of the events that we have coming up. We got Jesus Fest. That's going to be on October 4th. That's going to be here in San Angelo at 2929 Waco Street. And that's going to be hosted by North Faith Ministries. Excuse me, getting a little tongue-tied here. After that, we have our October 18th Fearless Fest. That's going to be here at Hopper House. We will be having some live music, some food, some games for the kiddos. It should be a good, fun time. So if you have some time on October 18th, come on out. We would love to have you here. And after that, I believe the last thing on our agenda for the year is going to be our baptisms on November 2nd. So if you want to come out, get baptized, or if you know someone here at Hopper House that would like to be baptized, feel free to come out. Sorry for the late start, but it seems like they're already getting going out there. So I'm going to switch the cameras and love you guys. Enjoy the open AA. And if you want to share your story or share anything with me, I will be in the chat. Thank you guys for watching. Y'all have a blessed evening.
We can understand and we encourage to share in a way that feels safe for you. Thank you for your understanding and for respecting the traditions that keep our fellowship strong. So welcome to the Hopper House meeting. Are there any newcomers? Any announcements?
Over.
Is anyone opposed to vaping?
No. Howard is. I can't vape.
Who you see here and what you hear here, that you stay here.
Here.
Please keep profanity to a minimum for our spiritual principles. The donation basket is going to be passed around to keep us with our 7 traditions. Contribution will cover rent, utilities, and coffee. Okay. AA Preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hopes with each other that they may solve their common problems and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not aligned with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help others alcoholics to achieve sobriety. Okay, I asked someone to read how it works.
I got 12 traditions.
You can come up here. You want to come in here or stay sitting out?
It don't matter to me. All right, first day, that's what's up.
How it works.
Who's got how it works?
How it works. Thank you, Danny.
Yeah. And I'm gonna add it. 2:23:25. This is how it works. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. They are such unfortunate. They are not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Their chances are less than average. There are those too who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, and many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Our stories disclose in a general way that we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. If you decide that you want what we have and are willing to go the length to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. At some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but could not. With all the earnest in our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go absolutely. Remember that we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help, it's too much for us. But there is one who has all power. The one is God. May you find him now. Half measures availed us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. 1, we admitted we are powerless over alcohol, that our lives become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and other human beings the exact nature of our wrong. 6, we are entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, ask him humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we have harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and practice these principles in all our affairs. Many of us exclaim, what an order, I can't go through with it. Do not be discouraged. No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We are not saints. The point is that we are willing to grow along spiritual lines. The principles we have set down are guidelines or guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Our description of alcohol, the description of the alcoholic, the chapter of the agnostic, and the personal adventures before and after make clear 3 pertinent ideas. A, that we are alcoholic and could not manage our own lives. B, that probably no human power could ever relieve our alcoholism. And C, that God could and would be all.
Thank you, Dan. Now, someone to read to business.
My name's Robert. I'm an addict.
Hey, Robert.
12 traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous. 1. Our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends upon AA unity. 2. For our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God as he may express himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. 3. The only requirement for AA membership is the desire to stop drinking. 4. Each group should be autonomous, except in matters affecting other groups of AA as a whole. 5. Each group has but one primary purpose, to carry its message to the alcoholic who suffers. 6. An AA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. 7. Each AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. 8. Alcoholics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9. AA, as such, ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10. Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinions on outside issues, hence the AA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11. Our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and film. And 12. Anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personality.
Okay, fellas, like I said, We have a guest speaker and Mr. Ryan. Step in here.
What's up, y'all? I'm Ryan. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Ryan.
I've been in recovery since April 14th, 2020. Tonight, our guest speaker, man, he's a great guy, real good friend of mine. He has done a lot for the community, and he is continuing to grow in what he does for the community. He is a pastor at one of our church here. He is a pastor that is involved at other churches as well. He has his own ministry that he is developing, and his story, wow, it is extremely inspiring. You know, I've heard it multiple times, but every time it's like it's just captivating and it's gripping, and it has so many messages in it. So here is Landon Noble.
What's up, man?
What's up,
How you doing? How y'all doing?
Good.
Good. Cool. Yeah. So a little backstory on me, I guess. I've got 3 years and 2 months clean. So 7/19/22 is my soap date. Yeah. So I'll just kind of start it off at the top. Basically, started using at a young age, 12, 13. And I started using for 2 reasons: fun and to change the way I felt. There was always something inside me that didn't feel right. There's always something in my soul that I didn't fit in. I didn't have passion for much of anything. I didn't know who my friend group was going to be, and so I kind of floated around trying to fit in with the smokers, with the jocks, with the drinkers, with the whatever. I played sports, and so I was around those groups of people for a long time, but I never felt at home anywhere. And so drugs, alcohol, they were a social lubricant for me, right? That made things easier. I could interact with people better. I could get more girls if I was drunk or high. And so it was the way I kind of came out of my shell around people. So those were the 2 reasons I started using. What's interesting though is, and I can't tell you the day that it happened, but that was my solution. Drugs were the solution to me feeling weird, right? That's how I changed the way I felt in order to make myself feel better than I did. And so it was the solution to my problems, the solution to being awkward, to having anxiety. And so, but at some point it transitioned from solution to slavery. I became a slave to the using. I became a slave to the lifestyle. So 12, 13, start drinking actually, and smoking marijuana. Pretty much all through junior high school, that was kind of what we did, was we drank, we smoked weed. Towards the end of high school, I started getting into some harder stuff, started doing some cocaine. Specifically at like house parties. I grew up in Lubbock, and so that was kind of the thing to do over there. Was like, the problem is there really ain't much to do over there besides drink and do drugs. And so it's a college town, Texas Tech, and so that was kind of the scene. Like we go to college house parties and get messed up. And so anyway, things progressed a little bit. I ended up meeting a girl shortly out of high school. We ended up getting together. She gets pregnant, and I go to South Plains College, which is a community college outside of Lubbock. Baby's coming. I'm trying to go to school, trying to work a part-time job, and trying to maintain a drug habit. And so the stage was set for a lot of stress, a lot of negative coping skills. Right, the way I coped with things was to do more drugs. Right, and so. As I progressed through college, I keep getting drunk. I keep getting high, and my daughter's mom, she saw what was going on. She was watching from home basically, because she stayed at home with the baby while I was out doing what I was doing, and she basically said, "Hey, you know what? I'm not doing it no more." She ended up breaking up with me, and things got. That catapulted me into some more heavy drug use. And so we separate. I don't really see my daughter as much anymore. And I don't, I'm sure some of y'all have kids, but whenever your kid's not present in your life, it is it's a painful experience. It's like a piece of your soul missing, you know, and it made me very spiritually and mentally and emotionally uncomfortable. And so, of course, the solution was to do more drugs, to drink more alcohol. And so that's what I did. Things got pretty heavy there. I ended up going to a house party in Lubbock and drinking, took some pills. On the way home that night, it was about 3 a.m. I fall asleep at the wheel and my car goes off the road. I go off a bar ditch into a drainage culvert, up into somebody's front yard and hit a statue that's in their front yard. And I was about, I don't know, probably this close to the corner of their guest bedroom where somebody was sleeping. And of course they come outside because it was loud. And I didn't know it at the time, but I broke my back in that wreck. My adrenaline was going. I kind of just like rolled out of my driver's seat and they came outside and, oh my gosh, are you okay? You know, they called the ambulance and the police and all that. And I stand up because my adrenaline's going. I try to get back in my car because I knew my car was full of pills and some cocaine. And I try to leave. So I throw my car in reverse. Well, come to find out, my front axle had broken in half whenever I hit the bottom of the drainage culvert. So the car wasn't going to move. But that was my first instinct, was to flee, you know, to run. Long story short, the cops end up coming. They find some stuff in my car. I go to jail, still not knowing my back's broken. Well, when I get to jail, things get painful. You know, the adrenaline wears off. They end up taking me to the hospital from the jail, and I have to get rushed into emergency surgery and get my back repaired. So from that, they gave me a whole bunch of opiates, and that was it. That was my that became my drug of choice for 15 years. I know this is an AA meeting, but I'm just going to tell y'all my truth of what happened. And, you know, there was alcohol mixed in there for sure, but mainly it started with pills. Not once did I ever feel like I had a problem. You know, the whole thing of like, well, the doctor prescribed me these, right? Well, the problem is the doctor finally stopped prescribing me those, and I still wanted them. So I hit the streets and found more. That transformed into heroin use, using a needle, and things got they escalated there. There was a whole nother monster asleep inside me that I didn't know about until I started using IV heroin, and I created a monster. And man, I did that for about 5 years straight, just on the streets, scrounging up money, trying to hold a job, losing several jobs, complete and utter just unmanageability in my life. And fast forward a little bit, the people I was hanging out with and the lifestyle I was in, it ended up catching up to me. Mind you, I was on probation from the wreck because they found stuff in my car. I don't know, maybe the first month. Well, no, probably the first 6 months of probation. I did all the things right. I did the drug tests. I showed up to my meetings, and finally got to a point where, you know what, I'm not going anymore. I'd rather get high. And so then I'm on the run, right? Really wasn't running. I was just kind of hiding more than anything. Anyways, they finally catch up to me, and when they do catch up to me, I've got some more stuff on me, and they end up taking me to jail with a new charge. They want to after I sit in there for a little bit, they want to reinstate my probation, and I told them no. I said I'd rather go sit out my time. So I did 18 months state jail at the Formby Wheeler unit in Plainview, Texas, which I don't recommend anybody. It was not fun. It was an interesting experience. I will say this. This is the first time I got curious about God. This is the first time I was able to sit down and read a Bible, and it was more curiosity than it was me trying to follow him, right? I wanted to know what mainstream America was talking about. I want to know what this Jesus dude was, what he was about, right? And so I got curious.
I filled my head with knowledge, but I never applied the knowledge while I was in there. So I was chasing head knowledge. I was reading and taking stuff in like a textbook, but not once did I open my spirit up to allow him to come in and do some work on me. So I get out of prison, right back to the streets, not even a month later, doing what I want to do. That lasts for about 2 more years. I get popped again, this time with some serious charges. I had a gun on me. I had a significant amount of drugs on me. And I thought, for sure, 2 to 10 is what they were telling me. So, and I figured I'm in there, about to have to go through a full-on heroin detox in the cell. And so I've accepted my fate, right? Well, they wake me up about 4 days in. They say, Hogle, ATW, you're leaving. I said, what? Turns out one of my girlfriends she had bonded me out, and so I get out, and of course, I'm sick from heroin detox, and so first thing we do is go get me some heroin, and something happened in that moment though. I had a realization that hey, you know what? Maybe you need to take a look at yourself, man. You're about to be a 3-time, maybe a 4-time felon, depending on what they charge you with. And then the weirdest thing happened. This is the first time that I had, if I look back at it now, because I didn't realize it at the time, this is the first time that God poured his grace on my life. I'm sitting in Ashley's house, and my mom knows that I bonded out, and I get a message from her. She said, hey, I got somebody that wants to call you and talk to you. And I said, well, who is he? And she said, don't worry about it, just talk to me. And I said, okay. And so this gentleman hits me up, and pretty much turns out he's like an interventionist, right? And he's like, hey, man, I can get you into a treatment center in Houston. And he said, what do you got to lose? There's a chance maybe that they'll work with you on jail time or prison time if you go complete this program. I said, well, all right, I'll go. And so I did 45 days in the treatment center in Houston. The whole time, all that legal stuff's looming over my head, and I'm stressed out. I'm freaking out. And I pretty much know after I get out of there, I'm going to have to go serve some kind of time. And my family, my grandmother worked in the courthouse, and she knew some lawyers. And praise God that she hired a lawyer for me for those situations. And luckily, well, I'll get into that in a minute. But anyway, I had a paid lawyer. Still, though, when I'm in treatment, I'm like, man, this ain't going to go good. But I'm doing all the things, right? I'm doing all the things. I completed the program. I'm going to go to intensive outpatient. I'm going to go to a sober living until I hear something. So fast forward a little bit. I don't know. I'm up in Houston, kind of just trying to do life normally and sober for the first time in 15 years. Not a clue what I'm doing. And my lawyer calls. He said, all right, this is the deal. He said, they're going to drop the gun charge. They're going to drop your 4 to 200 grams down to 1 to 4 grams. And they're going to drop your 1 to 4 grams down to less than a gram. And they're going to give you time served on everything. Yeah, that's a miracle, dude. An absolute miracle. And so that weight was off my shoulders, right? And did my thing over there in Houston. I'm a plumber, so I got a job plumbing over there. Knew a girl from Lubbock that we stayed in contact. She moved down. She also had about, at this time, after I was working a little bit, I had about 8 or 9 months clean. She had about 12 months clean. She moved down to Houston with me. Everything's good. I mean, I get up to about 18, 19 months clean. She gets up to 2 years clean, roughly 2 years clean. And her birthday rolls around, and we both got, we're feeling good. We got some clean time under our belt. Like, oh, we could go have a margarita for her birthday. Well, we did, and that night we had one margarita, First time in my life I've ever been able to drink one drink and go home. But we did that, and then the next weekend rolls around. You know, we already broke the seal, right? We already that obsession of the mind had been triggered with that first drink, and so the next weekend we go back and we have 2 margaritas. Go to work the whole week after that. We go back the next weekend. We have 3 margaritas. My tattoo artist shows up there, and he's got some cocaine. Well, 3 margaritas in, why not, right? So, and it progressed over those 3 weeks. I mean, we went from just drinking some alcohol to hard drugs again, like it was nothing. And fast forward a little bit, we kept using on the weekends, started using during the weeks, whatever we get our hands on. She was a weed smoker, that was her deal. And I'm doing cocaine at work, and I realized, like, hey, you know what? I really would like my drug of choice. So I sought that out. You know, it's a sad truth, but when you go through a treatment program and get into sober living, drugs are real easy to find because you know who relapses, and it ain't but a phone call away. And that's just real, and it's a sad truth. But that's what happened. I reached out to some folks that I knew had relapsed and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Can you give me some? And you know, I've never ran into a drug addict that's going to say no in that situation. Misery loves company, right? They out there doing it. Why not? Let's bring a friend in. So that's what happened. I started using opiates again. Shortly after that, I started using needle again. I hid it from Kimber, was her name. She ended up finding out about it, and she got curious. She wanted to use with me. She wanted to do it with me, and she wanted me to show her how to do it, how I was doing it. And so I put her on. I put her onto the needle, and again, a monster was created. And we used together. Still somehow maintained a job through all that. About 3-4 months passed, and one night she gets real sick, and I'm like, well, what's going on? And she's like, oh, it's no big deal. It's just, you know, I just feel like I had the flu or whatever. Well, that transformed into like her missing 2 days of work and her really not getting out of bed for those 2 days. She finally gets up one time and she goes to the bathroom, and she leaves the door open and she sits down, and all of a sudden I hear like what I thought was water running. Well, I went in there and she didn't even lift the toilet seat up, and she was pissing on top of the toilet seat. And at that point I knew something was wrong, you know, like it's not normal behavior. She had her eyes closed and she was all, you know, woozy basically. So I called the ambulance. Ambulance showed up, and they took her to the hospital. This is during COVID, and so I couldn't go into the room. And but they would call me and give me updates and stuff. Turns out that she had an embolism in her brain, which basically just means the brain was bleeding. And the hospital that I took her to was in this little town called Texas City outside of Houston, and their hospital wasn't the greatest. So they ended up air flighting her to League City, which had pretty great medical care. And as we start learning more, we figure out that she was using dirty needles at work, and so they put her on some antibiotics. She went septic, right? Her blood system got infected with sepsis. Well, it progressed and started attacking her organs, and she started having multiple organ failures. And they had to put her on a respirator, and man, this is graphic, but like her extremity, her ears, the outside of her ears, and her fingers, the ends of her fingers and the ends of her toes started turning blue, and they started talking about amputation. And she was a hairdresser, so she used her hands all the time, and I realized in that moment, it's the prayer kind of became, you know, Lord, if she's going to be more peaceful with you, then take her, you know. And so she ended up passing away, and of course that did something to me, right? Because I had got her started on the needle, I felt I was to blame for that situation. And so did her mom. Her mom blamed me for a bunch of stuff too. And so it sent me into a spiral of guilt, shame, regret. Things got really dark. I remember doing I remember doing shots of fentanyl because that's what you get used during this time. There really wasn't any heroin over there, but that's beside the point. But I remember doing, large shots of fentanyl with the goal being to not wake up, to just die, and I was okay with that. And then I also remember being upset when I woke up because, well, I failed that too. And that's a real dark place to be. But that was on repeat for the next 6 months. Trying to die, but couldn't. And I realized things were not good. And so I had to surrender again. I went back to a treatment center. Got clean again, never really dealt with any grief. Got out of treatment, made it about 4 months and relapsed. Stayed in it again for about a year. My mom called me. She said, I'm going to give you one more chance. She said, you move to San Angelo. You stay at my house until you get through what you got to get through. And I said, okay. And so I moved here. And I went through about a 60-day detox on my mom's couch with no meds, basically. And I was miserable. I was projectile vomiting. But in that moment, on my mom's couch, I had a spiritual breakthrough, a spiritual awakening. I was crying. I wanted to use so badly, but at the same time, I wanted to quit. It's a crazy thing. But I conceded. I said, all right, God, if you're real, because up to this point, I haven't been following you. I don't even know if I believe in you. But right now in this moment, I picked up a Bible and I said, I'm just going to believe every word in this to be true. And nothing happened. There wasn't a burning bush moment. It wasn't a something coming out of the clouds and all that. But if I look back at that moment today, that was the moment that my life changed. And it was my first real dose of surrender. Because up to this point, I had been doing things Landon's way. Denial, pride, ego is what my fuel was. That's how I existed. And I finally had arrived at the end of myself in that moment. And I had already had a little bit of experience with recovery, right? And so I knew, all right, once I start feeling better, I know what I need to do. I need to go to as many meetings as I can. I need to find a sponsor. I need to do these steps. Again, this is my third go around with the steps. The first 2 times I got some freedom. I got some freedom from it. But this was the time that I had fully surrendered. And so, and I'll just briefly give y'all my experience with the steps. I mean, the first one is admit that we're powerless over our disease and our life has become unmanageable. So the powerlessness for me, I'll give you just my take on this. The powerlessness for me was the thought, the obsession of the mind to always, the only thing I thought about was using. And if I wasn't using, I was thinking about how I was going to get more money to use tomorrow or in a few hours. And when that's all you think about, there's no room for consequences to come in. There's no room for, where's my daughter at? What do my parents think of me? It is an all-consuming disease that completely blots out everything that's important to you. And so I was powerless over this obsession. I was powerless over the thought of using. I was powerless over actually using. I was powerless over finding means and ways to get more. And what that created, because of that powerlessness, it created the unmanageability in my life. Now, the unmanageability showed up as lost jobs, Kimber dying, daughter won't speak to me, daughter's mom won't speak to me, mom and dad have wrote me off, I can't hold a job. That's what the unmanageability is. Nothing in my life was manageable. I can't pay my rent. I can't keep the lights on. Whatever it was unmanageable. And so step 2 comes around. Became willing. became willing to believe that a power greater than myself can restore me to sanity. Have any of y'all ever read the Jaywalker story in the AA book?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. All right, I'll give you my version. But basically, there's this guy, he enjoys walking, and a lot of times he's walking across streets, right? Well, he finds out that he enjoys jaywalking. He enjoys walking across the street. He gets hit a few times, gets his leg repaired, gets his arm repaired. Never phased him. He keeps walking across the street, ends up getting hit again, breaks his back. Well, he gets up again, heals from his back being broken, keeps walking across the street, and he knows he's in danger, and he tries to lock himself up in an asylum. And if I can just stay here, I won't walk across no more streets, right? Well, he ends up getting out of there, and first thing he does is he goes and walks across the street and gets hit by a semi truck, and boom, done. And so it's insane, right? Why would you keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and not expect to get hit by a truck, And so that's an example of what we do. That's an example of our insanity, man. We keep using, despite everything around us burning down, despite the family cutting us off, despite the jobs, despite the house, despite the rent, all of that. The only thing that we care about is getting high again or getting drunk again. And so I need a power greater than myself to restore me from that insanity, because left to my own devices and Landon running the show, bad things happen and I'm insane. So I became willing. Like I told you on my mom's couch, this is it. I'm gonna believe the word. I'm gonna surrender. Now turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand Him. Step 3. This was real hard for me, dude. I went on a mission of like, well, what is God's will for my life, right? And I couldn't tell you. I didn't know what it was. And so I went on this mission of really diving into the Bible, trying to figure out what God wanted me to do. And I spent a lot of time in step 3. And my sponsor was like, well, why don't we back up a little bit? You know what God's will is not for your life. Right? He don't want you out there using. He don't want you out there drinking. He don't want you out there not being a part of your daughter's life. So let's do the things that are opposite of that to start off. So I did that. I started reaching out to my daughter again. I started nurturing the relationship with mom and dad again. I go to meetings. I do some step work. And things just started happening after that. Step 4. Get to step 4 and I get to unload some baggage. Step 4 has a unique way of really digging into the stuff that you've been holding on to. A lot of my stuff was since childhood. A lot of my stuff was, happened in the drug life too, right? There was a lot of traumatic stuff that went down while I was out there using, and but I finally got to unpack all of that in step 4. And a funny thing happens whenever you pick up a pen and start writing. Your subconscious just has a way of pushing all of your crap out whenever you start writing. And so a lot of folks get scared or dread step 4, man. And I'll just say this: some of it is painful, but on the other side of it, in step 5, you're going to receive so much freedom from all of that. It makes it worth it. So when I shared step 5 with my sponsor, there was tears shed, and there was freedom and liberty gained spiritually in the spiritual realm. I had given God all of that junk, and finally, I was at a place where I could start thinking about my present and looking towards the future some. 6 and 7, defects and shortcomings. So in your step 4, you're going to find out, dang, man, I got some qualities in my character that aren't that good, right? I have built this person or this narrative that has a lot of defects. Man, I'm defective, right? The narrative I've been living and the person I've become is defective. I'm not of good use to anyone around me, really. But those defects get revealed in your step 4. And so, and a lot of times for me, I was unbeknownst to those defects, dude. I didn't know I was acting out on them, right? I just thought I'm in survival mode. This is how I have to act in order to get through life, because it's all I'd ever known, dude. Well, that's what sponsorship's for. It's for the other party on a step 5 to call you out on some of those defects and let you know about them, And furthermore, you're probably going to realize some of them as you're writing down your stuff. But with those defects, you give those defects to God. And one of the things I did as well was I prayed for awareness of those defects. Part of step 6 and 7 is the 7th step prayer and giving those defects over to God and allowing Him to take those defects. And for me, a lot of them were taken immediately, but there was ones that I still struggle with today. And so I prayed for awareness of those defects, and now I'm very hyperly aware of when those defects pop up. And so another way to explain defects and shortcomings, and I heard this in Houston, it said step 6 is like having 4 flats on a Cadillac, and step 7 is driving around on it. So your defects of character produce your shortcomings. So for an example, if I am a liar, then I cannot, the defect is I'm a liar. The shortcoming is, well, nobody can trust me. They know I'm a manipulator, right? And so the shortcoming is a direct effect of my defect. And what I learned about myself is that I had a lot of shortcomings, especially in all of my relationships. And so steps 8 and 9. Well, thank God I get to amend those shortcomings, right? I make a list of people that I want to make amends to, and that can be pulled directly from your 4th step. And step 9 is to actually go and make direct amends, unless it's going to hurt you or another party. I've heard some stories about people making amends and they don't go well. That wasn't my experience. All of my amends went well. My parents were forgiving. My daughter's mom was forgiving. My daughter welcomed me back with open arms. All they really wanted to see was me clean. All they really wanted to see was me live a life of happiness and joy and not feel the need to use. 10, 11, and 12. We call the maintenance steps. 10 for me is tough, right? It says when we're wrong, we promptly admit. Well, it just took me 15 years to admit that I was a drug addict. And so I don't promptly admit anything. And that is a defect of mine, right? It's ego driven, it's pride driven. But I'm aware of that today. And so part of step 10 is when we're wrong, we promptly admit it. You may hear in the rooms enough, if you hang out with us enough, that it's always appropriate to clean your side of the street in any given situation. To admit you're wrong on a daily basis for whatever situation it is, and amend that situation. Is there an apology owed? Do we need to discuss it? Were you dishonest? Were you upset or angry? Did you lie to anybody? These are questions that we ask ourselves on that step 10. Is there an apology owed? Could I have done something better? What should I have done instead? Right. And so it's a daily inventory. It's a daily 4th step. And if I do a 10th and 11th step effectively, then I don't have to stack up junk and baggage for another 4th step as fast as I would if I didn't do the 10th step. And so it's literally a miniature daily 4th step that we do. It me and a bunch of my sponsees and friends and my sponsor and his sponsor, we all send them on the phone every night. And then we get to make fun of each other. Well, you're an idiot, dude. Why are you cussing at your mom, or whatever it is, right? And so, but it becomes a reflection of our day, right? And that also brings awareness to where we're acting out, or our disease is flaring up, right? So, and then step 11, through constant prayer and meditation, improve my conscious contact with God is, I'll tell you what, man, the most important thing in my life today is my relationship with God. and I believe in Jesus Christ, and that's He's the way, the truth, and the life, and that's what I believe in. And I spend a lot of time, one-on-one time with Him. It's just like any other relationship. If you want a relationship to be successful and fruitful, the only variable that matters to me is time. In a Bible study in church, they asked us, "How do you spell love?" Everybody's like, "Love." And Pastor Mike's like, "No, you spell it Time." And it's just like any other. You can't expect not to spend. You can't expect not to spend time with somebody and just you have a great relationship with them. You know, the relationship with God today is the most important thing. And when I'm feeling weird, when I'm feeling restless and irritable and discontent, if I go sit in my prayer closet for 30 minutes to an hour, put on some instrumental worship music, and sit at the foot of the cross and think about who God is and what He's done for me in my life, suddenly my problems fade. I become more peaceful. I can address situations. I'm not discontent. I receive all of my validation today from Jesus Christ. I don't receive validation from my wife or my job. I don't get fulfilled through those things. Well, I do with my wife, but not the job. And so my validation and everything that I'm about comes directly from my higher power. And so that's very important for me. And then you get into step 12, man, and this is where the magic happens. This is where you get to practice everything you've learned in the other 11 steps. This is where you get to go give back to other addicts and alcoholics. And that's how I stay clean today. Truth be told, that's if I'm not directly involved in service work, I will get high again. That's the truth of it. Because those times, the first 2 times I was in recovery, I'd go through my steps. I'd get to 10, 11, I'd get to 12, tell my sponsor, yeah, I'm on 12, tell my counselor, yeah, I'm on 12, and not do anything. Not even talk to the newcomer. I'd just show up for a meeting, sit in the back, and watch the clock. Were we almost out this thing or what? And not once did I step into any service commitments in those first two tries of recovery. This time around, I dove in head first, and you talk about some fulfillment, some spiritual fulfillment. When you see the light turn on in somebody's eyes when you're ministering to them, whenever you're walking them through the steps, it does something inside of me spiritually that lets me know that I'm living in my purpose today. We have a unique mission because every one of us in this room has been through the dirt and the mire and the mud. And right now, in this moment, you've got an opportunity to change the game. A lot of us have dealt with, our moms and our dads are drug addicts or alcoholics. You have an opportunity in this moment to break that generational curse. You're clean today. You're sober today, and so you can break that generational curse if that's your situation. But when you see the light turn on in somebody's eyes, man, you suddenly realize the power of this program. You suddenly realize the power of sponsorship. Because my sponsor got to see the light come on in my eyes, right? And that's how this whole thing works, man. If I don't give back to the next one, who's going to do it? Hopefully somebody gets a hold of them, but you've been called to get a hold of people because there's going to be certain people that resonate with your story more than they resonate with mine. There's going to be certain things that those men went through that you went through in a similar situation. And boom, that opens the door for a common ground. That opens the door for an opportunity to minister to them about some of the same junk that y'all have together. And so, and there's just so many people walking around. You don't have to look far. You can look at San Angelo. There's so many people walking around just lost, man. Just lost in this disease, just spiritually lost. And man, God has set us aside as an addict and alcoholic community. He has set us aside for a time such as this to go out and help other ones out of the trenches. And if you can recognize that, hey, God's put you on mission by being here, your life's going to change, man. Your life's going to change. Don't just recognize it as, well, I feel better now. I got me a little recovery. I'm going to go home and I'm going to put my recovery on the shelf, and put my salvation on the shelf, and I'm going, here it is, and not tell nobody about it. They say that the core of our disease is selfishness and self-centeredness. You go home, put them on the shelf, it's the most selfish thing you can do. So we're called to go out and find the lost, man, and minister to them. And I'm gonna bring some scripture up to kind of illustrate this. In Mark 6, verse 34, it says, when Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them, because they were like sheep without a shepherd. So he began teaching them many things. I don't know about y'all, man, but there's a large crowd out there that needs some light. There's a large crowd just like Jesus pulled up on. There's a large crowd out there that needs some help, man. Journey's full of them right now. They keep that place full. I know some brothers were just going out to Shannon Behavioral. They all up in there too. The county jail, full of them. Prisons, full of them. They're sheep without a shepherd, man. And I thank God every day that some men in recovery stepped into my life and shepherded me. And furthermore, they were getting direction from the over shepherd, which is Jesus. There's a power in that I can't explain. I won't sit here and try to use words to explain to y'all the power that a belief in Christ and the Holy Spirit have. All I know is there's direct evidence of both of those things in my life and in the lives of the people around me. And it's all got to be centered back to God. I can't start taking credit for, oh yeah, I walked so through the steps and he's got X amount of years clean and he's, it ain't about me, dude. It ain't about what I did. It's about what the steps did and about what God did through the steps. Man, as soon as I start taking credit for God's work, things get hairy. Another example, later on in Mark, the disciples they're walking with Jesus, they're following Jesus, and Jesus kind of overhears them talking, and turns out the disciples come clean with him, and he said, he's like, what y'all talking about? And they were discussing who was the best disciple out there, and who exercised the most demons, who did the most healings, right? And they're talking amongst each other, just in the background. And Jesus, being Jesus, of course, he already knows what they're saying, but he asks them, and he goes in and tells them, it ain't about that, basically. He says, anyone who wants to be first must be the very last and the servant of all. It's Mark 9:35. We're supposed to be a servant of all. It's not about serving ourselves. It's about serving others. It's about being an example of Christ. It's about doing what he tells us to do. At the end of Matthew, the Great Commission, he tells us to go make disciples, baptize people in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and to preach the gospel. And you talk about a mission, man. That's all I do now. That's all I do. I try to reach people where they're at. Ryan alluded to the ministry. Part of our ministry is we go out on the streets every other Saturday. We pass out about 120 meals to people, homeless people, low income neighborhoods, the patio, the lodge, and we get to go love on people, man. We get to go pray with them. We get to show them the love of Christ through what we're doing. You know, we show up as representatives of Christ, and they get to feel that love, you know, and that's what we do. And man, I'll tell you what, my life did a complete 180 by doing all this. Once I surrendered and did the steps and really put some effort in to a relationship with God and a relationship with my disease, a healthy relationship with my disease, because it don't go away. You're always going to have a relationship with your disease. And it's either going to be unhealthy, I'm going to stick a needle in my arm, or it's going to be healthy, and I'm going to help somebody not stick a needle in their arm. Man, I can't tell you how and this isn't to toot my own horn, guys, and I'll just tell you this. Again, this is all God's provision in my life. The things I'm about to tell y'all is directly from the Lord, and I take no credit for where He's taken me, because it's all His anyway. But man, 6 months clean, I ended up meeting my wife, my now wife, at a Narcotics Anonymous convention in Whitney, Texas. She lived in Fort Worth at the time. We ended up doing a long distance relationship for about, 9 to 10 months. She moves here, we get married. Just had a beautiful wedding in April. When I met her, she didn't even know yet, but she was 2 weeks pregnant from another man. And dude, when I tell you I prayed for a son for so long, well, I got one, man. And he's not biologically mine, but now he's 2 years old, and he brings a lot of joy to my life. And it didn't happen how I thought it was going to happen, right? I thought, maybe I'll meet a wife someday and I'll get to have a kid or have a son before I'm 40. Well, when I met her, God knew exactly what He was doing. He knew that she was pregnant, and I didn't have a clue, and neither did she. And then, boom, I got a son now. My daughter's back in my life. I get to manage the San Angelo branch of Black Plumbing, which is a multi-million-dollar plumbing company. Me and my wife have the ministry. I got my pastoral certificate from Celebration Church. I get to preach to people. If you would have asked me 3 years ago if I'd be doing any of that, or if I could have a family and a son, I would have told you were smoking crack. And but man, there's the power and the grace of God is simply just unbelievable. I don't have words to explain it. It's surreal what He brought me through, first of all, and then what He's given me on the other side of that surrender. Man, and it doesn't stop there. I'll tell you another thing. My mom came over about 4 days ago, and she said, "I need you to lay some hands on me and pray for me." And I said, "Well, come on over." And she's not a drug addict, but she's been carrying around a whole bunch of stuff inside of her. And so we ended up praying. We prayed for deliverance. I asked the Holy Spirit to move in her life and to remove any demonic oppression that was weighing her down. And the Holy Spirit in that moment revealed to me that she's not demonically oppressed. She's just believed the lie of the enemy for so long. And she got some understanding behind that. Well, after the fact, I get to sit down next to her and I say, "Mom, I know you're not a drug addict, but would you be willing to do a 4-step to get rid of some of your baggage?" And she said, "Yeah, I will." And so she just started homework, step work, man. She's not even addict, not even alcoholic. And so I'll tell you what, man, whenever you really submit, whenever you give God a chance, He's going to put you in position, man. He's going to put you in position to be a light to the world. He's going to put you in position to be the light to your family, to your friends, to other alcoholics and addicts. He will put you in position, and He'll keep doing it over and over and over. Just when I get through a season of, oh well, there ain't much happening, God's like, oh, I'll show you, dude. And he'll drop something on me, man. He'll drop something on my family. And then boom, we get to go do something. We get to go minister to people. We get to go speak. We get to go out to the boys' ranch every Saturday and talk to those boys out there through Celebrate Recovery. A lot of them have drug problems. A lot of them have family issues. We get to go out there and love on those boys too, because they don't have parents. They grow up in situations that are out of control. And so, man, I'll tell you what, if you really chase the Lord, the Bible says, thirst and hunger for the kingdom of God, and the rest of these things will be added. If you start chasing Jesus, your life will be rebuilt right before your eyes without you even knowing how. You start chasing the Lord, He's gonna repair and restore and provide beyond anything you could ever imagine. And so I would just encourage y'all to, first of all, do the steps, because the steps led me to a relationship with Christ. When I first got to the steps, I really wasn't trying to hear the Jesus topic. I really wasn't. But what I found is everything about the step work is biblical. Once you get through the steps, and if you were to hold an AA book and a Bible next to each other, you can pull out and cross-reference where they got the steps from. And so I would just encourage you to do the steps, submit, surrender. I'm in a room full of people that think their way is the best way, and it's not. And so, give them a chance, man. Give them a chance. So, but it's 8:01, so I'll shut up. And I love you guys. I love you guys. John Lanford. Good to meet you.
We'll do chips now.
All right, we got the desire chip. Chip won't keep you sober, but it may keep you from drinking. It's a 24-hour. It's a chip to keep you keep coming back to these meetings. Do we have any takers today?
24 hours, 24 hours,
24 hours?
24 hours, first day.
24 hours? Somebody somewhere. All right, we have a 24-hour chip. You made it through today. Let's see about tomorrow. It is a silver chip.
That's the same thing.
Yeah, same thing. Okay, we have a 30-day chip. 30 days? Somebody somewhere. We have a 60-day chip, 2 months. Anybody? We have 90-day chip. Green, cut the grass, don't smoke it. Somebody somewhere. We have 4, a gold chip. We're doing the golden AA rules the right way. Anybody? Man, I'm batting 1,000. We have 5-month chip. It's red. Anybody got a 5 month? Somebody somewhere. All right, where is 6 months is blue. And if you got 6 months in, you're not feeling blue, boy. You done got that taken care of. And 7 months. We got orange.
Fellas, thanks to y'all. First of all, thanks to God. And thanks to this program. I've done it. Keep doing it.
How about 8 months? Another green one. That's for weed eating. All right, how about 9 months? Purple.
Somebody somewhere.
Somebody somewhere. 10 months? I'm coming up on this one close,
No fronts.
but I can't get it yet. 11 months. Yeah, we got a pretty blue one. Anybody? Nope. 12 months goes on the board. Third Friday of the month, we celebrate. What about multi? More than a year? 18 months?
It's goes with years.
Huh?
Goes with years.
You good?
1 year? Yeah. 1 year is on the board. Put your name on the board. We celebrate it third Friday every month.
Yes, sir.
We also have a Unity 10-minute chip. Anybody want to change something?
You have one of those. I'm fixing to see the one in my time.
Man, I got a good chip for that. Well, I appreciate you guys. I'm kind of new at this chip deal, but if you work it, man, I'm already seeing the service work you do is the greatest thing. Once you get to be a sponsor and start sponsoring people and going out to and sharing the AA meeting, man, the people you meet, the sorrow you see in their face. I've managed to get a few people out here, and I don't see that sorrow no more, and it just lights up my recovery. That's all I got.
Thank you, Howard. Sober today, you're gonna tell
If you're sober today,
Promises, Johnson.
Since we said 2025, the promises. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word of serenity and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how experiences can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will initially know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them.
Good, fellas.
pray out prayer.
Go close out that prayer.